Hello, it is another pleasant, cool evening here in the capital city of Abuja. I hope it is the same wherever you are watching us from. It is also another Wednesday and time for News Extra, the news bulletin that comes to you with an extra touch. Tonight we begin countdown to Nigeria's 60th birthday as the president unveils logo and theme of the celebration. Also tonight, government moves to ensure better use of recovered looted funds with an act in the making. Also tonight, we have updates on security, flooding, and of course, the daily local and global COVID-19 statistics. Now, there is so much on tonight's package that I don't want to dwell on the highlights. Let's get to the nitty-gritty as the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I am Fatima Buba, and this is News Extra. You're welcome. The theme and logo of Nigeria's 60th anniversary celebration has been unveiled. President Muhammadu Buhari performed the ceremony to formally kickstart series of activities commemorating the nation's attainment of the Diamond Age. State House correspondent Adam Sambo reports that the event preceded the weekly meeting of the Federal Executive Council.
It is to the glory of God and in celebration of the attainment of the Diamond Age of 60 by our great nation that I hereby unveil the prepared anniversary logo for this momentous occasion in our national history.
With a deep feeling of national pride, President Muhammadu Buhari also announced that together shall be the theme of Nigeria's 60th anniversary celebration.
Our founding fathers, in spite of the differences in faith, tribe, and tongue, came together to fight for Nigeria's independence. This shall be a befitting tribute to the struggles of our heroes past.
The theme, the president emphasized, will keep the nation united and help the citizenry forge ahead, while the logo, a product of choice from the Nigerian people, forms the critical pillars which the modest commemorative activities will rest on.
I am informed that the selected option depicts our togetherness, a country of over 1,200 million people whose natural talent, grit, and passion glitter like the precious diamond we are. This, to me, is a special appreciation to our most precious asset, our people. Everywhere you go, Nigerians are sparkling like diamonds in the pack.
The neatly encrusted diamond on the nation's map, President Buhari said, symbolizes Nigeria's age of treasure, while the pear and dark green colors remind Nigerians of their warmth, welcoming spirit, and love, as well as the abundant human and natural resources.
All these properties made us unarguably the most prosperous black nation in the world and Africa's largest economy. As we celebrate this anniversary, this government will work towards greater inclusiveness and look forward to the participation of all Nigerians.
For the chairman, Interministerial Committee on the Anniversary Celebration and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, the historic event is just the beginning of the various commemorative activities expected to last 11 months.
The preference for a year-long celebration is to create opportunities for ownership and ensure that the edifying elements of our nation are made to propel our various individual and collective action. Therefore, post-October 1st activities to engage the private sector and the ordinary Nigerian will be the focus of the interim ministerial committee.
Celebrating 60 years of Nigeria's independence without doubt calls for pomp and pageantry. But the federal government says with the COVID-19 pandemic forcing the global community to think and act differently has also foisted on the nation the imperative of a low-key celebration. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the federal government has resolved to establish a new agency that will be saddled with the responsibility of managing more effectively the proceeds of crime recovered from those found to have abused trust. This followed the approval by the Federal Executive Council, a bill seeking to provide a legal and institutional framework for the agency aimed at taking the anti-corruption war to the next level of transparency and accountability. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo again reports on this and other approvals by the council.
With President Muhammadu Buhari presiding, the meeting 24th in its series for the year 2020 and 15th to be held virtually considered and approved the Proceeds of Crime Recovery and Management Agency Bill. The bill, soon to be transmitted to the National Assembly for legislation, is intended to provide a legal backing for the establishment of the agency that will effectively manage assets that constitute the proceeds of crime in Nigeria.
What happens before now is the proceeds of crime are scattered all over and mostly in the hands of different and multiple agencies of government, inclusive of the police, the DSS, EFCC, ICPC. So what this law now seeks to do is to have in place an agency of government that is exclusively responsible for anything proceeds of crime, as to what amount is there available for budget purposes, thereby establishing the desired transparency, the desired accountability.
Also approved by the Federal Executive Council is a new national policy on occupational safety and health 2020. This is designed to make for safety, health, and well-being of Nigerian men and women in workplaces in line with the provisions of Nigeria's constitution as well as the ILO Convention 155 domesticated by Nigeria.
The world has gone digital. Workplace mechanism and hazards have been changing. It was therefore necessary that we do a new policy. So this policy we did now, it takes care of all that is needed for now for the health of Nigerian workers. It also, like I said before, gives rules to agencies. For example, the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund, whose role is to guarantee safety and pay compensation to workers for injuries sustained in the workplace or going away from work, and even death. So their role has been accentuated for them to implement.
The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, on her part, briefed the Council on the second quarter GDP report released by the National Bureau of Statistics last month. The report shows that the nation's economy went to a negative growth of -6.10%, as well as an aggregate performance of -2.1% for half-year 2020.
This performance of -6.1% is a good performance in the sense that it is better than what we had projected second quarter performance to be at 7.2%. This performance also is a good performance because it outperforms the projections that have been done by the Brentwood institutions, but also it outperforms very developed economies of the world and also economies that are comparable to us.
The minister said even though 30 out of the 46 sectors of the nation's economy showed negative growth, agriculture, financial services, and the ICT stood firm and continued to grow on the positive territory despite the COVID-19 pandemic.
The rollout of the Economic Sustainability Plan has seen us starting to implement major public works across the country to ensure that people are employed or kept in jobs.
The Minister of Finance also enumerated other intervention funds provided for the health sector, small and medium enterprises, as well as infrastructure, as a deliberate attempt by the Buhari administration towards sustaining activities capable of stabilizing the economy. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Now, the world is moving towards digital identification of citizens, and some countries have already turned the corner. Well, the cheering news is that Nigeria is also on its way to achieving equitable distribution of resources using the digital identity database. This is major takeaway from a media briefing in commemoration of this year's National Identity Day. And Victor Azu has that.
In development terms, this baby yearns for identification. Developed countries have since recognized the correlation between national identification, planning and development, and they are better for it. Nigeria is coming to terms with it, hence the establishment of the National Identity Management Commission to drive the process, closely followed last year by the federal government's approval of September 16 every year as National Identity Day, the first country in the world to so do. Today is in furtherance of the Sustainable Development Goals SDGs Target 16.9, which seeks to provide legal identity for all, including birth registration by the year 2030. With the biodata of 42 million Nigerians already captured, the Director General of NIMSI, Aliyu Aziz, is optimistic that the nation is already reaping the benefits of digital identity.
It's a social service to get the passport, a social service to get the driver's license, a social service to also get a role for election. So all these services are now being tied to the NIM. In Nigeria, we want to move fast, and in the next 2, 3, maximum 5 years, we should have achieved this global need.
It's a global need, but NIMSI wants the impact to begin with the most vulnerable.
This year, we want to capture the IDPs. All these development partners that have programs for IDPs can always utilize the database we have of the IDPs. And those things will get to them directly without even using intermediaries.
Indeed, such are the benefits that will resonate with the ordinary Nigerian. So, the earlier, the better. In Abuja, Victor Azu, NTA News.
It was on a day like this, 60 years ago, that the British administration officially handed over all nationhood symbols to the about-to-be independent Nigeria. A day that the National Orientation Agency has chosen to unveil a pre-independence program called One Nation Project towards reawakening the consciousness of Nigerians on the correct features and core values of Nigeria's national symbols, especially the national flag. Kenneth Nanim reports.
Preparatory to attaining independence from colonialism in 1960, the Nigerian national flag, coat of arms, national anthem, national pledge, constitution, currency, international passport and the national identity card were symbols released to the country by the British administration. Over the years, the National Orientation Agency noted that these national symbols are being misunderstood, misrepresented, at times disrespected, abused, and even misused by citizens. This has prompted the agency and partners to reverse the trend through the One Nation Project initiative.
It's centered around the Nigerian flag as a rallying and unifying symbol to reignite citizens' passion for the country at such a time when many Nigerians are turning towards their ethnic and religious inclinations more than the corporate existence of the country.
Touring of the Nigerian national flag across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country and citizens' reality show are part of the first phase aimed at reawakening the spirit of patriotism and nation building amongst citizens.
Let us all as Nigerians first see ourselves as Nigerians before whatever ethnic group we're from. That's an objective, and so when the flag starts its tour and touching down on every state within these different geopolitical zones. We want to receive it. We would want everybody to be able to embrace it. We want everybody to own it because it belongs to us and it helps us to really know that we are one.
The Nigerian flag is one of the national symbols that brings to mind the memories of the sacrifices of our four nationalists, inspiring unity, peace, and patriotism. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
Sure, our Nigerian flag means so much to us. Now, and our Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has taken a pre-commissioning tour of the Watersmith Flow Station and Modular Refinery in Ohaji, Egbema, local government area of Imo State. Anthony Ferson has the details.
The pre-commissioning visit by the Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed, accompanied by the Minister of State for Education, is to have an idea of what the nation will benefit from the refinery when it comes on stream. The refinery, which is in its first phase of completion, will have the capacity to refine 5,000 barrels of crude per day. Chairman of Watersmith and the Chief Executive Officer of the refinery briefed the minister and his entourage, among them the governor of Imo State, the success story of the modular refinery. The refinery is expected to come on stream mid-October.
Today, that from just exporting crude, Watersmith is adding value to crude. Is producing many other, byproducts which will be consumed by Nigerians. But don't forget the job creation and the fact that they are going to transform the entire landscape of this local government.
And besides, you know that there were so many licenses issued out for modular refineries. I have not heard of any of those licenses calling for pre-commissioning visit or being commissioned. So it means that it is only Watersmith, in the real sense of it, that has actually utilized that license. So it's something federal government must appreciate, and then Nigerians indeed should also appreciate.
Watersmith Refining and Petrochemical Company had the full support and guide by the National Content Development and Monitoring Board, whose executive secretary described the Watersmith Refining and Petrochemical Company as a true Nigerian model, putting in perspective the capacity of Nigeria's local content in modern-day technological exploits for sustainable growth and development. In Owerri, the Imo State capital, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Biogas technology is gathered from a large variety of gases through specific treatment processes which can be used to replace natural gas. Uzezi Arure reports that the potential for biogas production and use at various levels makes it an attractive bioenergy option, especially because of its ability to promote environmental hygiene and climate change.
Renewable energy was regarded as a paradigm shift that could sustain the green economies, reduce poverty in the quest for global sustainable development. Although biogas did not get a serious nod as a strong renewable energy source like solar, wind, ocean and other fuel among others, it is gradually being adopted in many countries like Asia and America.
Do you believe that the feces in your sockaway and the waste from your kitchen can be used to generate cooking gas, electricity, and fuel for your generator?
Unbelievable. I don't know.
Can it? The Kirikiri Maximum Security Custodian Center, Lagos, is a typical example of a facility that has keyed into using biogas as it now converts its organic waste and domestic materials into energy. It is used for cooking, and half of its electricity demand is also met through the plant. This has currently turned the center to a clean and healthy environment for inmates and officials.
The kitchen was converted from firewood to clean energy. So the 4 burners you're seeing here is the LPG gas, and this 4 burners is the biogas.
Nigeria is one of the largest producers of waste, and Lagos produces 13,000 metric tons of biodegradable waste daily, which are either burnt, buried, or evacuated and dumped at a dump site. But sometimes, these waste products are wrongly disposed and littered on the streets, clogged in gutters and canals, causing environmental hazards, which are harmful to human health. Lagos, with its about 22 million people, has a great potential to generate energy from its waste materials, just like many other cities in Nigeria. But how well has the country been able to tap into this immense clean energy source? Aside its environmental benefits, what are other areas of benefits?
It serves as a healthy cooking alternative for developing areas that rely completely on firewood for their survival. With the help of biogas, they can have a healthy and cooking energy for their daily living.
Domestic biogas plants ranges from 280,000 to about 1.2 million. Agricultural biogas plants, of course, it can range from 3 million and above.
With the current increase in electricity tariff and fuel pump price, experts are calling on government and the private sector to invest in biogas plants to provide cheap and clean energy for households, especially at the grassroots, and further diversify the country's energy source. In Lagos, Uzezi Arure, NTA News.
The progressing pace of the Nigerian economy in this COVID-19 crisis is one of the achievements by the federal government in stabilizing all frontiers of the nation's critical sectors and strengthening citizens' capacity towards absorbing the shock of the global pandemic. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports that guests on NTA's Tuesday Live say the fiscal approach adopted is fast restoring economic gains and fostering prospects for direct foreign investments.
Recovery strategies and several financial interventions carried out by the federal government to manage the depressed state of the economy occasioned by COVID-19 is yielding positive results with impact on socio-economic well-being of the people. Massive investment in infrastructure, social intervention programs, and the continued injection of internal funds and external borrowings to meet desperate needs in areas of infrastructure, agriculture, and commerce were applauded.
There have been a number of policies that started creating cushion, in the environment, as if in preparation for the negative consequences of the pandemic.
Government is responding in such a way that jobs will have to be created, small holder enterprises will be supported.
Guests on NTA Tuesday Live say the deregulation of the downstream oil sector will serve as a gateway for strengthening critical institutions of the economy. They suggest the proceeds from the deregulation should be used to meet the aspirations of Nigerians.
If we have decided enough is enough with the so-called petroleum subsidy, so be it. But at least, in return, we are guaranteed permanent and stable supply of petroleum energy.
The government hasn't done badly in terms of keeping their workforce. I haven't heard that government has retrenched anybody. But we've lost over 30 million. About 39 million jobs in the private sector.
The future of the post-COVID-19 economy is becoming clearer and promising to key stakeholders owing to the remedial measures and other far-reaching economic and fiscal policies taken by the federal government to mitigate the impact of the pandemic and to give life support to hailing sectors. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
And as the authority of heads of state and governments of the economic community of West African states, ECOWAS, continues seeking solutions to the political crisis in Mali, it is insistence on the restoration of a civil rule, even for the proposed transitional government, is the way to go and will be helpful for democracy and good governance in the sub-region. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo stated this on Tuesday after the extraordinary summit of ECOWAS in Accra, Ghana, where he joined other leaders in the sub-region at the meeting, presided over by the new ECOWAS chairman and president of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, describing the over 5 hours meeting as very fruitful. The Vice President said the position of the Authority of Heads of State was very clear, mainly that ECOWAS would not accept a change of government by force, and that this will be completely unacceptable.
Change of government by force, that would be completely unacceptable, and that so for the purposes of this, for the purpose of what has happened in Mali, that the transitional government must be headed by a civilian, and also the general principle that the transition period should be within a maximum of about 18 months. So I think it's been basically very fruitful, and I think that all of the heads of state there was consensus, and that I think is very helpful, that the Authority of Heads of State is speaking with one voice, and that ECOWAS is at one on the most fundamental questions of democracy and good governance.
The objective of the meeting was to allow the leadership of the Committee for the Salvation of the People of Mali the opportunity to brief and present to heads of state and government the architecture and roadmap for the political transitional arrangements in conformity with the decisions taken by the Authority of ECOWAS Heads of State and Government at its extraordinary summit via video conference on the 28th of August 2020 and its 57th ordinary summit on 7th September 2020 in Niamey, Republic of Niger. The United States says it has nothing in connection with targeting politicians in Nigeria over the policy of visa restriction. U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria made this explanation at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and Usman Aliu reports.
Striking another diplomatic deal at this unusual time, the United States and Nigeria want to make it clear the visa restriction policy imposed earlier by America's government affecting countries including Nigeria, her biggest trading partner in Africa. The United States of America is demanding vital information sharing for visa application. The decision, it explained, is to protect America for security, among other reasons.
Announcement of visa bans on people who we construe to have interfered with democratic processes related to Nigeria's elections. The integrity of the election process is so important to the fundamental trust of compact between a citizen and their government. It's fundamentally important, and that's why we take the step of internally identifying people that we believe can credibly be construed to have interfered in that process. U.S. visa processes are in fact confidential, and so we do not publish a list.
It's comforting and heartwarming to know that there is a re-evaluation going on, and we are also looking at the prospects of having a positive outcome of the evaluation, so that we can at least be said to be on a platform and on a page that we know we can progressively continue to improve on our relations and continue to have a more citizen-to-citizens kind of engagement.
In January this year, the Nigeria-United States Binational Commission met in Washington on this same issue, and at this meeting, Ambassador Mary commended Nigeria for the response and fulfillment of the requirements. In Abuja, Usman Aliu, NTA News.
And in another story, former head of state General Abdulsalami Abubakar has applauded the role of the Oba of Benin in ensuring peace ahead of Saturday's Edo governorship election. General Abubakar paid a courtesy visit on Oba at his palace in Benin. Goodluck Enaini reports.
State, who was in town to hold a peace accord meeting with political gladiators ahead of Saturday's election, wants the Royal Majesty to sustain the tempo, describing his earlier effort to calm the political gladiators as highly significant.
We have already set the ball rolling by the way you cautioned and brought the aspirants to the palace and caution them on the need to give peace a chance.
Oba Oba Ewaye II is happy with the show of concern by the Peace Committee in ensuring a hitch-free polls on Saturday.
Pray that peace continue to happen and override all other perceived violence.
Highlights of the visit was the presentation to the former head of state, General Abubakar, of a bronze cast of an Oba sitting in a traditional ceremonial position praying for peace. Meanwhile, Oba Ewaye II also granted an audience to the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Abubakar Adamu, who assured the Oba of the readiness of his men in ensuring a peaceful environment before, during, and after the exercise. In Benin, good luck in NTA News.
Nigerian Air Force strengthens, adopts comprehensive approach to dealing with all forms of threats to Nigeria's territorial integrity as persons living with disabilities become mobile through collaborative efforts. These and more on NewsExtra when we return. Please. Welcome back. The Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, is optimistic that the Lagos-Ibadan rail line will be ready for both commercial and freight operations by the end of December. He was speaking based on the targets outlined by the contractors, which spelled out the delivery of the 10 train stations along the corridor across 3 months. The minister explained that the construction of the train stations could not match the pace at which the tracks were laid, but delivered that as activities continue to open up in phases after the COVID-19 lockdown. More resources and manpower will be deployed by the contractor to meet the target prior to the coronavirus pandemic. The month of April 2020 was the target given for the delivery of the project.
September, not in October. End of October, all the minor stations will be ready. That is 6 or 7 of them. End of December, everything will be ready. So what's the problem? They are still keeping to the target of end of December. The only one they are afraid of is Apapa because it started very late. But I'm insisting that Apapa should be completed at the same time as the rest. And I've told them to set up a task force just for Apapa alone.
Well, we apologize for the lack of audio in some parts of that pictures. Now, Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, has visited the Air Force Base Kaduna for an assessment of the operational strength of a component of the Nigerian Air Force. Abdullahi Mohammed reports that the Air Chief says the move is part of a comprehensive approach to dealing with all forms of threats to Nigeria's territorial integrity.
It is a periodic assessment which began with a closed-door meeting where the Chief of the Air Staff received operational briefings on the air component of operations going on in flashpoints across the country. The Air Chief also had a face-to-face interaction with aircraft engineers carrying out maintenance at the 531 Engineering Group hangar.
It's not only about the aircraft. It's about the human beings that operate the aircraft. It's about where they are staying. It's about the road in the barrack. It's about water to the families. It's about medical facilities. It's about school.
Because the welfare of the personnel of the Nigerian Air Force remains critical, the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, made a step over at the residential part of the Nigerian Air Force base in Kaduna to examine an ongoing project that will have a positive impact on the life of the personnel.
A road construction at the residential area of the Air Force base free of charge by a local contractor. In Kaduna, Abdullahi Muhammad, NTA News.
In the meantime, the air component of Operation Hadarin-Daji has eliminated several armed bandits and destroyed their logistics facilities in massive airstrikes conducted in the Koyambana forest area of Zamfara State on the 15th of September 2020. This was part of air prohibitions missions executed on the subsidiary operation Wutandaji 2 to rid the northwest of the country of armed bandits and other criminal elements. The location was designated for attack after human intelligence report and confirmatory intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance missions established the fact that some clusters and huts and other structures at the edge of the forest are serving as hideouts for notorious bandits. Leaders like Sani, Muchoko, Damina and some of their fighters. These days, it is heartbreaking when one hears of challenges facing any Nigerian community. It is also heartwarming and worth celebrating where there are interventions like the ones that came the way of some communities in Osogbo. 2 projects executed by the Army have been inaugurated by the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, who also said the Nigerian Army will step up the fight against insurgency as it continues to touch lives of the people. Talk by Alabi reports.
Long Kuta Ikoyi Ede Road has been of economic value to the agrarian population of the 3 communities for decades, with their aesthetic view provided by the flowing Osun River at the center of it. The deplorable condition of the narrow road a major concern for the traditional rulers of the towns, resulting in agitation for almost a century. The Nigerian Army Headquarters, through its engineering corps, EDE, has now altered the narrative by constructing the Bailey Bridge connecting the 3 towns and solely funded by the Nigerian Army. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, used the occasion to reaffirm the military's capability and commitment to combating insurgency without compromising her corporate social responsibility.
This is one of the steps we will take to further enhance the security around, so that communities will connect, surveillance very easy.
We boost commerce, we allow people to move freely. It's a gesture from the Nigerian Army. We are very proud of them. We are very grateful.
A cottage hospital funded and built by the Nigerian Army for Ashamu community and named after Tukur Yusuf Buratai was also inaugurated. The well-equipped TYB hospital is to make primary health care accessible to people at the grassroots. The Chief of Army Staff and the Governor also paid homage to the Olowu of Owukuta, Oba Hamid Adekunle Makama, Tegbosun III at his palace. From Kuta, Osun State, Talk by Alabi, NTA News.
Have you ever imagined a life of immobility where you are unable to move from place to place to perform your daily chores? Well, this lack of access to mobility is exactly what some people living with disabilities go through. So you can also imagine the joy when something is done to overcome this disability. That is the scenario in Bauchi State, with the distribution of 90 wheelchairs by Governor Bala Mohammed, who said providing mobility to people with disabilities is achievable through collaboration with non-governmental organizations and donor agencies. Mahmoud Ibn Mohammed reports.
These wheelchairs will serve as assistive devices that will promote mobility and enhance quality of life for those who have difficulties in walking.
It will help me very much because I am striking with leg, but I get mobility that I go to anywhere and do my business.
To the facilitators and the donors, it is an opportunity for users to study, work, engage in social activities and access services such as healthcare.
These tricycles were brought all the way from Germany, and it is a partnership. You can do anything on this mobile equipment. You can trade, and you can do it with ease. Please, we want the beneficiaries to put it to use in a manner that will improve their quality of life.
We want to bring their cause to the forefront because there's a lot of ability in them. So by empowering them with this mobility cards, it's going to help them. Some of them are going to use it to go to school, to do business. There's a compartment, there's space for business. So we want to bring their activities, we want them to be empowered. We don't want them to be expecting, because there's so many things they can do.
With the government of Bauchi State as the facilitator, the wheelchairs were provided by Border Health Social Investment Initiative and Yusuf Tugga Community Empowerment Initiative. In Bauchi, Mahmoud Ibn Muhammad, NTA News.
In another development, First Lady of Nigeria, Aisha Buhari, has reaffirmed her continued support towards improving the living standard of Nigerians, especially women, youths and children. The First Lady stated this in a message during the distribution of relief materials to victims of flood in Kwaikwayu village of Ringim, local government area of Jigawa State. State House correspondent Aliu Kabir reports.
Residents of Kwaikwayu village, located in Ringim local government area of Jigawa State, have suffered the devastation of flood as a result of the persistent heavy downpour in the area. Their houses, farmlands and livestock were destroyed, leaving no fewer than 500 people homeless. The victims, majority women and children, are currently taking refuge at the LEA primary school in the community as temporary accommodation. As part of her humanitarian activities, the First Lady of Nigeria, Aisha Muhammad Buhari, through her Future Assured program, visited the area as part of measures to cushion the effect of their hardship.
We are here today to assist people in an area where there was a flood in Jigawa State. We have seen that about 500 people were affected. Their homes were washed away, their farm produce were all covered by water, and they are really in desperate need of assistance.
These deep down villages are the ones needing help from other people like rich people and other first ladies of the state. But I'm sure they are trying their own best. But for the First Lady of Nigeria, it's entirely different.
While calling on well-meaning Nigerians to continue maintaining high spirit of supporting those in need, the First Lady reaffirmed her commitment to remain a pillar of support to Nigerian women and children, particularly those at the grassroots. The gesture was extended to Kafin Babushe village in the same local government area of the state, who also suffered similar disaster. The beneficiaries expressed their happiness with the gesture. In Ringim local government area of Jigawa State, Aliu Kabir, NTA News.
An average resident of Yauri in Kebbi State, regardless of gender, considers water from a river Niger as a companion to his or her social and economic well-being. They rely on the river for crop production, fishing and transportation. This friendship is, however, becoming sour, as water from the river is silently taking over their homes at night, thereby wreaking havoc. Emir of Yauri, Dr. Muhammad Zayanu, describes the situation as the worst in recent years. Musa Baba Aliu has a situation report.
Water has no enemy is part of the lyrics of a song by Nigeria's legendary Afro-Juju icon, Fela Anikulapo Kuti. However, the situation in Yauri Emirate Council in Kebbi State might change people's perception, considering how water from the river Niger overflowed its banks, destroying farmlands, goods and property. This is the situation in Gandan Sakachi community as at the time of my visit. Families are moving out of the area carrying what they can salvage. For these children, their bicycle comes first. No one has time for poetry, just like you see there. Malan Ilyasu took me around the community in a canoe, as most areas are no longer accessible by any other means of transportation. There are 60 people, including I, my wife's mother and children. Look what is left, just an empty space, he says. I am above 60 years and I was born in this community. We have never experienced this kind of disaster, Amina says while calling for more support from relevant authorities. Emir of Yaouri has been following this ugly development in his emirate, coordinating how his people are rescued from the ravaging flood. Though he says flood is not a new thing to the area, but was quick to add that this is the worst in decades.
Will be up and doing against next year. For example, the dredging of the river Niger has started up to Barrow in Niger State, but it's stopped there. It's very important that this is, we should proceed up to this area. By doing that, I believe the flooding, if not totally eradicated, will be minimized.
From Sakachi community in Yaouri, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
A very sad one there, but no one can fight nature. Now, President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, has observed that flood disaster in Kebbi and other states, if not adequately checked, will cause severe food shortage in Nigeria. He was speaking when he granted audience to a delegation from the Argongu Emirate Council. Ignatius Nkwo reports.
Argongu, a community in Kebbi State, famous for its fishing festival, also has a tradition of taking its appreciation to the doorsteps of those who honored their invitation. The 2020 Argongu Fishing Festival was graced by the President of the Senate, Senator Ahmed Lawan. In accordance with its tradition, a delegation of Argongu Emirate Council was at the National Assembly to say thank you to the President of the Senate. Alhaji Ibrahim Hassan Kundundan Kabi led the delegation.
Due to the pandemic of the coronavirus, we are not able to do it immediately after the fishing. We waited till this moment.
Senator Lawan, in appreciation, reiterated that the 9th National Assembly is a parliament for all Nigerians and will continue to rise to the occasion in times of need.
So we'll continue to ensure that we work for some support for people who are affected. And that flood in Kebbi has the potential to reduce food production in Nigeria in this season. Because Kebbi State particularly is known for agricultural activities, and so much of their land is now under the flood.
The delegation also announced the conferment of a traditional title of Ganwan Kabi on Senator Lawan, which means defender of the Argongu people. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Agricultural sector has the capacity to provide the needed job and food security in Nigeria as farmers continue to heed to President Muhammad Buhari's agricultural revitalization initiative. These were words of Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development Mohammed Sabo Nanunu when he visited Malam Alu Farms, Birnin Kudu, one of the leading farms to key into this drive in Jigawa State. Ibrahim Belogunda reports.
Agriculture remains the key to Nigeria's economic diversification, hence the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari's resolve in supporting Nigerians who are into small and large-scale farming for food security, job creation and economic sustainability. To this end, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mohammed Sabane Nuno, visited one of the farms, taking the lead in the President Buhari's vision for agriculture in Birnin Kudu, Jigawa State, Malam Alu Farms. The visit is to encourage and support such initiative as the minister and his entourage inspected the farm's animal husbandry, greenhouse technology for vegetable cultivation and fertilizer blending plants, among other sites.
Farouk Adamaliu has answered all our calls towards development in the agricultural sector, and I'm very happy with it. And I think it is a duty for us to support him to continue this important project.
We heed to the call of Mr. President that we should all go to farm. Thank God we are back to farm, and we decided to do smart farming with technologically based farming so that what you put is what you get.
The farm has a research institute and a staff strength of more than 1,500. From Dutse, Ibrahim Bello Gunda, NTA News.
We take another break now. More news when we return. Please stay with us. Great to have you back on News Extra. European Commission President seeks better coordination on approach to the coronavirus pandemic, just as Russia's sovereign wealth fund supplies 100 million doses of coronavirus vaccine to India, an Indian drug company. And Uche Ugochukwu brings us more on the global coronavirus pandemic.
President of European Commission Ursula von der Leyen said the bloc must rise above its fragmented approach on dealing with the coronavirus pandemic by centralizing more decision-making on health issues. In this vein, she told European Commission legislators that Italy will host a global health summit next year during its G20 presidency. The European Commission president insisted more funds must be invested in research and development and more powers given to EU-wide institutions so as to restore the fragile state the pandemic has left EU in. Scientists from a Ugandan university and the National Army, after collecting 162 plasma from donors, have launched a study to find out whether plasma from recovered coronavirus patients has effect on active patients. Meanwhile, the caseload of the coronavirus in Africa is now 1,374,043. 1,122,117 patients have recovered, as shown on the WHO COVID-19 dashboard. Nigeria recorded 90 new cases from 7 states and the FCT on Tuesday, the lowest in months. This puts the country's tally at 56,478 with 1,088 fatalities. In India, the number of confirmed coronavirus infections has surpassed 5 million, with daily cases crossing 90,000 for 5 days. Officials say more than 80,000 people have died. The world, as of 6 p.m. Nigerian time, recorded 29,828,056 confirmed cases of coronavirus. From this figure, 941,292 patients died, the Worldometer coronavirus dashboard indicates. In another development, Russia's sovereign wealth fund has agreed to supply 100 million doses of its coronavirus vaccine to an Indian drug company, as Moscow speeds up plans to distribute its shots abroad. That's it from here. I am Uche Ugochukwu.
Have you ever envisaged a world where everyone will have a fight or to fight a battle beyond arms and ammunitions? I bet you never. Well, the battle is on, and Nigeria is adopting a multi-sectoral approach to financing health as the world combats COVID-19. Liakatin Babatunde reports that the ammunition by Nigeria is proper funding to bridge the health infrastructure deficit and prepare for emergencies.
The virus pandemic has caused governments around the world to look deeper at gaps in the health sector as efforts continue globally to find a definite end to the virus. Just as economies have been brought to their knees, it is estimated that up to $8 trillion could be wiped out of the world's economy due to the pandemic.
We find that if you put, prior to this time, $1 per person, per country, that was able to prepare the country to respond to outbreaks effectively.
Participating institutions at the multi-sectoral workshop for financing health security in Nigeria identified weak investment as a major concern for rapid response to outbreaks.
Imported services, we are ravaged with a general lack of funds to carry out our activities. We need to be able to increase our funding to improve our capacity to be able to prepare more for the outbreak.
For Nigeria, maintaining health financing for emergencies such as the coronavirus in annual budgeting process is now paramount.
The aim of this workshop, which is to equip budget officers and MDAs with requisite knowledge on mainstreaming financing health emergencies in our annual budgets, will be achieved.
Once we have the subnational support efforts on health improved, we will see far more than what we are expecting.
The workshop also seeks to engage partners for resource mobilization in getting ready for emergencies like COVID-19. In Abuja, Leah Katung-Babatunde, NTA News.
To cushion the effects of COVID-19 on poultry business, registered poultry farmers in Plateau State have received an allocation of 90 metric tons of maize as a relief from the federal government. This, they say, is a great boost to poultry farming, which suffered a tremendous loss under COVID-19. Felicia Daliop Samaila takes it up from here.
Is a widely produced food crop in Nigeria and consumed by both humans and animals, especially for this category of birds. Recently, the commodity, which is in high demand, has been in short supply due to the effects of COVID-19 pandemic, thereby affecting the poultry industry. Pius Paul and Nanji Oke are two among many poultry farmers on the plateau who say the lucrative venture is gradually shrinking for lack of adequate feed, among other constraints.
Poultry business is a very big business, but now it is going down because of the high cost of drugs, and then the high cost of feed, and then a lot of things.
At the moment, the poultry farmers on the plateau are facing a lot of setback in the industry, and basically as a result of the feed production.
Isaac Owana has been in the business of milling feed for poultry farmers and explained that maize is an essential commodity which constitutes over 50% of poultry feed.
As a miller, it has really affected me. You can see this place is empty. We've lost about 95% of our customers because our feed is about 50% of maize we used to have. And if you're buying maize for 22,000 per bag, how much will you sell the feed?
To alleviate the hardship faced by the poultry industry, the federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, released 5,000 metric tons of maize, out of which 90 metric tons have been allocated to registered poultry farmers in the state at a subsidized rate.
We are in the receipt of an allocation that came from our national headquarters in Abuja. Now, we've gotten a little, we're not saying the 90 metric tons is enough.
With this laudable gesture by the federal government, it is expected that poultry farmers will soon heave a sigh of relief.
In Jos, Felicia Daliop Samaila, NTA News.
The radiance of the sun brings light, warmth, and energy to fire the embers of man's endeavor. Life on Earth would be impossible without the sun. Yet, on the flip side, excessive exposure to it would be harmful to life on Earth. That is where the ozone layer comes in, to protect us from harm by sun rays. And activities of man are, however, depleting this layer and exposing humans, animals, and plants alike to this grievous harm. September 16 every year is therefore set aside to remind us all of the need to preserve the ozone layer. Onenge Fine Face puts the issue in perspective.
In recognition of the important role the ozone layer plays in human survival and life on Earth, the global community in 1985 adopted the Vienna Convention for the protection of the ozone layer. The convention resolved to cut out 99% of ozone-depleting substances in response to human activities which were creating a hole in the shield provided by the ozone layer to protect Earth from harmful ultraviolet rays from the sun. Ozone-depleting substances include gases used in cooling such as refrigerators and air conditioners. When these substances get into the atmosphere, they break the ozone layer gaseous shield and allow more ultraviolet rays than is needed from the sun to get to the Earth, exposing humans to medical conditions like cataracts and skin cancers. The excessive rays also cause damage to plants and the ecosystems.
If government will provide available public transportation, people will reduce use of their cars. Because if you reduce the use of your cars on the road, you are minimizing the carbon emission.
International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer this year 2020 commemorates 35 years of the Vienna Convention and successes recorded in the reduction of greenhouse gases and other emissions considered harmful to the environment.
Today, if you go to the Niger Delta region, particularly if you go to River State, where they're flying gas, we're dealing with soot. Even before COVID-19, people in River, their environment, their air has been polluted.
The slogan for the day is Ozone for Life. It serves as a reminder for humanity to continue to protect the ozone layer and natural ecosystems for the benefit of future generations. Olmengiye Fine Face, NTA News.
The federal government has been categorical that being the #1 in open defecation in Africa is not a badge of honor for Nigeria. Facing the task to rewrite the story, the federal government has also thrown the challenge at states for equal commitment. Our WASH correspondent Musbaut Wahab reports that while some states are taking the backseat, others are set for shutdown in the competition for the first state to be completely free from open defecation in Nigeria. Musbao, we are all ears.
The process of entrenching Clean Up Nigeria was set in motion in 2016. In 2018, however, the momentum took a more decisive course.
Henceforth, federal government support to state governments will be based on their commitment to implement the national water supply, sanitation, and action plan in their respective states, and to end open defecation by 2025.
A presidential push got things rolling positively when President Muhammadu Buhari launched the WASH Action Plan. The open secrets of 47 million Nigerians who engaged in open defecation had caused a stench that needed to be cleansed, a reputation a nation could never be proud of.
As a nation, we simply cannot afford the huge costs, including fatalities caused by preventable water and sanitation-related diseases.
The states are the states needed to be flushed into the dustbin of history. So, the slogan, Clean Nigeria, use the toilets, was sold to the gents and ladies.
The campaign of Clean Nigeria, use the toilet is out, and if it is state government that domesticated the version of the campaign.
We'll adopt this. If you don't mind, we will have Clean Kaduna, use the toilet as our own version.
Cross River State was the first to cross its T's and record the first local government area free of open defecation. 5 more LGAs soon got on board. Now, other states seem eager to get their terrains clean.
We are committed and we will do our best to make sure that Jigawa is the first state to attain open defecation status in the country.
Jigawa has 6 local governments, Benue has 6 local governments, and then Cross River also has 6 local governments that are open defecation free. And a whole lot of states are actually saying, yes, we are actually going to take the lead in this campaign. So we're actually looking at a situation where, all the states will come into the campaign and begin, to work within the local governments, ensure that the local governments are free from open defecation.
We are deliberately setting them on a collision course to compete with each other. The key thing is that once this campaign catches on, I think it will spread like bushfire. That's what I anticipate.
36 states plus the FCT are in the race. They are racing against time and pride. The common destination is to end open defecation in the country by 2025 and ultimately to shed the toga of being the #1 in open defecation in the world. In Abuja, Musbao, then Wahab, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has felicitated with elder statesman Alhaji Bamanga Tukur on the occasion of his 85th birthday anniversary. In a statement, President Buhari joins members of Tukur's family friends and well-wishers in celebrating the former national chairman of the People's Democratic Party and one-time governor of Old Gongola State, who has devoted a greater part of his extensive political life to supporting democracy in the country and continent. As an accomplished businessman, Pan-Africanist and philanthropist, the president believes that Alhaji Tukuru understands that one of the best human legacies is to invest in people, and many Nigerians who came in contact with him in business and politics would continue to cherish him. He commends Alhaji Tukuru's notable accomplishments in the public service. I will take a breather now. Join us again. Thanks so much for staying. NTA Maiduguri Zonal Network Center has been commended for living up to expectations through effective service delivery, especially sustenance of transmission at the peak of Boko Haram crisis. Director General, Nigerian Television Authority, Malam Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, gave the commendation during a meeting with staff of NTA Maiduguri as part of his two-day official engagement in the Borno State capital. Abubakar Mohammed Musa reports.
Addressing the staff, Director General, Nigerian Television Authority, Malam Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, described NTA Maiduguri as a zonal network center to be reckoned with, especially for continuously operating in line with the core mandate for which it was established. The Director General said the 2 vehicles and 10 million naira given by Borno State government, among other support, was largely due to the outstanding performance of NTA Maiduguri, especially in terms of information dissemination, and call on staff to maintain the organization's credibility.
To have chief executives in Borno State who care. But it's not enough to have chief executives who care. You must reciprocate the good gesture of the state government by trying to create a lot of goodwill.
Staff were given the opportunity to ask questions on issues that will enhance their productivity, where the Director General expressed the readiness of NTA and Borno State government towards supporting the workforce. Malam Yakubu Ibn Mohammed had, before departure, assessed the master control room, studio, powerhouse, as well as transmitter of the station in Maiduguri. Abubakar Mohammed Musa, NTA News.
From generations, traditionally well-known markets in rural agrarian communities of Nigeria continue to showcase developments in food security, local economic base, and a shining example of promoting national integration among the people. If you are looking forward to visit one and appreciate the beauty, here is Hamza Musa Makarfi to take us through centuries-old Doma weekly market in Nasarawa State, exemplifying these appeal and fascination.
Located about 23 kilometers from Lafia, Doma Wednesday Market revolves around agriculture, and as an institution, the custodian or Sarkin Kaswa Muhammad Babo ensures flourishing atmosphere of cordiality.
Doma Market unite the people.
Large number of women dominate most business activities. Without them, the story of agriculture in Nigeria may be different. Youthful and exuberant Muhammad Aliyu, keeping tradition, establishing time. At strategic locations, sailors like him clearly understand attracting customers in unique expression to make profit is key. Anthony Ejekeme from the eastern part of Nigeria feels at home in the midst of compatriots. He appreciates the cultural blending inspired by diversity.
You're meeting different people all the time. You learn how to interact with them. You learn how to associate with them.
Similarly, Simon Oga and Emmanuel say understanding the local dialect of Doma people breaks barrier of communication.
Can you speak a little of the dialect? Oh, Nyasogota Asegenti Umbanga Gozo Zano so Yazwa Agbede so say.
So what does that mean?
I mean, I want to appreciate NTA people for what God has done for them. And we are praying that they will take us to the highest level.
As a businessman, I have to hear this one, because as a businessman concerned, one language cannot come to your place and buy something.
There are groups and associations, and one very strong is by the women, and Ediga Dangawa says strengthens social ties beyond activities in the market.
One of us thought we all abide by that.
Like a school, which Ibrahim Ali says Doma Market is to the youth. I couldn't agree more, while grabbing the opportunity to speak to issues of national significance convincingly as they listen with rapt attention. From Doma, Hamza Musa Makalpi, NTA News.
On sports update, it's 7-year-old former IAAF president jailed for corruption. Details when we return after this break. Welcome back. It's 7-year-old former IAAF president jailed for corruption, and we have details with Padi Adile.
The federal government has continued to receive commendation over the regrassing of the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja. Alex Okonkwo, an England-based media consultant and sports analyst, believes it is high time the Super Eagles returned to Abuja for their home matches.
The minister, he is saying, let's give the infrastructure so that our national teams can come and play. So he started by already showing it by making the stadium, playable, a good place to receive the Super Eagles. So it's going to be great. It's going to be something of pride.
Rehabilitation work on the Mimbo pitch is progressing, with construction workers now at the soil maintenance stage. Elsewhere, Bundesliga clubs have been reportedly given the green light for fans to return to the stadia for the start of the 2020-2021 season, which will kick off on Friday. A trial will see the stadia filled with up to 20% of its capacity, with strict hygiene requirements and a ban on alcohol in the stands. In tennis, 17-time Grand Slam winner Novak Djokovic is back on court after his US Open disqualification as he beat Italian wildcard Salvatore Caruso 6-3, 6-2 to move to the round of 16 of the Italian Open. The world number one, who was disqualified in the 4th round at Flushing Meadows for hitting a line judge with a ball, will next face Gael Monfils. In the meantime, former World Athletics president Lamin Diak has been found guilty of corruption and sentenced to 2 years in prison. The 87-year-old, who was the head of track and field from 1999 to 2015, faced 5 charges related to an alleged cover-up of drugs tests for Russian athletes in return for bribes. The court also sentenced Diak to another 2 years of suspended jail time and fined him €500,000. With sports update, Bade Adeleye, NTA News.
Well, sports update concludes News Extra for tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Please stay safe. I am Fatima Umar Buba. Enjoy the rest of your night.